welcome to the Daily Climate Show. Coming up, Sir Keir Starmer pledges to set up a publicly owned green energy company within a year if he's elected. Hurricane Ian makes landfall in Cuba with winds of 125 miles per hour. And how the public can make their concerns about climate known to party leaders. Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show, where we track the changes happening to our world and the race to find potential solutions to the climate crisis. But today, we start with news that Sir Keir Starmer has promised Labour would create a publicly owned green energy firm if he becomes Prime Minister. At his keynote speech in Liverpool today, the Labour leader announced he'll make a new clean generation company that will use the power of Britain's sun, wind and waves, called Great British Energy. Sir Keir claims his party would tackle the climate emergency head-on to benefit British people.
A new company that takes advantage of the opportunities in clean British power. And because it is right for jobs, because it is right for growth, because it is right for energy independence from tyrants like Putin, then yes, conference, Great British Energy will be publicly owned.
Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, joins me now live from Liverpool. John, so a clear alignment with a green future from Labour.
Yes, and popular policy, nationalising, if you like, the whole of British Energy, one big new company. Boris Johnson, when he was Prime Minister, did talk about a new national grid, a nationalised national grid at some point. That's never happened. But it is, of course, reversing the privatisation of energy by the Conservatives in the 80s and 90s. For example, in electricity, we used to have the Central Electricity Generating Board, which was a nationalised industry, and the area boards which supplied electricity, and of course regional gas boards as well. But what Sir Keir is talking about is one big company, a bit like EDF, Electricité de France in France. And prior to that standing ovation which you saw there, one of 10 throughout the 50-minute speech, Sir Keir was talking about what's happening at the moment. He said the largest onshore wind farm in Wales, who owns it? Sweden, he said. Energy bills in Swansea are paying for schools and hospitals in Stockholm. The Chinese Communist Party has a stake in our nuclear industry. Well, he's talking about the Sizewell project there, the Hinkley project down in Somerset there, which a deal signed by George Osborne when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. And he said 5 million people in Britain pay their bills to an energy company owned by France. That's EDF, Electricité de France, which is part nationalised, I think I'm right in saying. So he's talking about Great British Energy within the first year of a Labour government, he said, a new company that takes advantage of the opportunities in clean British power, and he said it was right for jobs and growth.
OK, John, always great to talk to you. Thank you for that update. John Craig there. Now, Hurricane Ian has made landfall in Cuba with top wind speeds of 125 miles per hour, and it's only going to get stronger as it makes its way towards Florida. Now, the National Hurricane Centre says there is a risk of flash flooding, strong winds, storm surges of up to 10 feet tall, and possible isolated tornadoes along Florida's Gulf Coast. And as the world gets warmer due to climate change, hurricanes are becoming more intense, and that's all because as the Earth's surface temperature rises, more liquid evaporates from the ocean. And this evaporation adds moisture to the air. And the increased moisture in the air leads to more intense rainfall. Therefore, as the air continues to warm due to climate change, hurricanes can hold more water vapour, producing more intense rainfall rates. Well, joining me now is Professor Rafe Toomey from the Faculty of National Sciences at the Grantham Institute for Climate Change. Thanks so much for joining us, Rafe. First of all, can you just tell us the impact climate change has had on hurricanes and how they work?
Thank you. Yeah, name's Ralph. The way they work is really through what we call a positive feedback. So the cyclones are actually very good at extracting heat energy out of the ocean, and that then converts to rain, and that actually strengthens the hurricane, and the wind goes up, and you have more stronger cyclones, stronger wind, more evaporation, and on it goes. So that's how they can intensify very rapidly, as this one is at the moment. So if you change the basic condition, in other words, the ocean temperature, then you're starting off from a much better position of evaporating yet more water vapor, and then the feedback becomes altogether more stronger overall and also speeds up more quickly. So we are concerned that as the ocean warms, cyclones become stronger and wetter.
And there's no way, of course, of stopping hurricanes. But what do you think, in your research, are the best options for mitigation?
So one of the big things we've already achieved as a group, a collective humans, through computers and satellite observations, we can now forecast these events really quite well. So now we're talking about Florida, what might happen on Thursday. Well, if you think about before the satellite era and the computers, there would have been hundreds of thousands of people at risk of dying, frankly, without this. So we've got better forecasts. That's great. We need to build better. We need to evacuate people better. And then we also need to reduce the main cause of anomalous sea surface temperatures, the anomalous warming that's probably happening at the moment in the Gulf of Mexico, and that would be reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
OK, Ralph Toomey, thank you very much for joining us on the Climate Show today. OK, in other climate news, heat pumps could become cheaper and easier to install in the future, as the government has awarded more than £15 million in funding for innovation projects. And ministers have set up a target of 600,000 pumps to be installed in a year by 2028 as they bid to accelerate the rollout so households move away from using costly fossil fuels. Well, also today, farmers in Wales could be paid to help protect nature and fight climate change under new reforms to agriculture. So the Welsh Government said its long-awaited agriculture bill marked a historic moment. Now, the bill paves the way for Welsh ministers to set up and operate a brand new subsidy scheme for farmers with a much greener focus. So good news there. Well, images of updated banknotes featuring a portrait of the King will be revealed by the Bank of England by the end of this year. So coins and banknotes featuring King Charles III and Queen Elizabeth II will co-circulate in line with guidance from the royal household to minimise the environmental and financial impact of the change of monarch. So currency featuring the Queen will be replaced over time as coins and notes become worn or damaged. Now, here's a question for you. Would sending a letter to the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, and the Leader of the Opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, every day make you feel any different about climate change? Well, the group Climate Coalition is urging people to write to our leaders to remind them about the level of public concern. And they're also asking people to pen letters to loved ones, telling them how they'd like the planet to be in the future. So when it comes to how we're all feeling about the future of the planet, how anxious are we? Well, Sky's Sabah Chowdhury joins us now. You've got all the numbers. Let's talk us through how anxious people are feeling.
Good afternoon, Leah. Well, this is clearly something that is worrying a lot of people. 7 in 10 individuals that were surveyed by the Climate Change Coalition are saying that they are seriously concerned about the impact that climate change is going to have on the future of our planet. But according to the organisation Greenpeace, they're saying that we should really not be surprised by this, given the summer that we've just seen. So on their website, they say, you're really not imagining it. There really were a lot of climate disasters this summer. And then they go on to cite the floods in Pakistan, the record heat and the wildfires that we saw here in the UK, and also the droughts across Europe, the worst droughts that we've seen in the past 500 years. And they're saying for this reason that this is why it's been resonating with a lot of people. Exactly, because it's been so close to home, a lot of it. Now, 45% of parents, this research from the Climate Change Coalition has found, are really worried about the future of their children. And they're saying that so much more than things like health and other things, including money and job worries. Now, this is a huge concern for parents, but not just parents, but the general population, the results have found. And it's why, as you touched on earlier, Climate Change Coalition I've kick-started a new campaign, the letters to
screens.
tomorrow, exactly. And what this is encouraging people to do, a bit like a time capsule, is to write a letter to their future loved ones, basically illustrating what they would like the future to look like if our leaders were to act now.
Sure.
And they're also going to be writing letters to Prime Minister Liz Truss and to Leader of the Opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, encouraging them to act now. They're saying, if this matters to the people, it should really matter to you. Now, it is, of course, the Labour Party conference we're seeing that is happening up in Liverpool. And Sir Keir Starmer has spoken about how he hopes to reduce energy bills and his green plan for that. Prime Minister has also spoken about her green plan. But really what these stats show us, Leah, is that it's action and not just words that people want.
Absolutely. Saba, thank you very much for going through those numbers for us. Well, that's all for now on The Climate Show. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. But for now, we'll hand back to Sarah Jane.